So welcome to Bauer Media's building, The Lantern. Thank you very much for coming to the BSME's Secrets of Subscription Strategies event tonight. Yeah, it's really nice to come out on such a lovely day. So I'm Dan Green. I am the editor of the week Junior Science+Nature, which is the monthly magazine from the week Junior. As you know, subscriptions are the hot word these days. It's the word on everyone's lips. They're everywhere, aren't they? From TV subscriptions to music streaming, toothbrushes, I think. I looked up wonky vegetables you can get on subscriptions. In fact, I did a quick Google. I think you can probably get from one end of the day to the next on subscriptions for your morning coffee to your evening cocktail. And even my cats have a subscription to their cat food. So I think we're all very well aware of subscriptions, and for publishers, they're very, very attractive. Of course, they generate predictable, recurring revenue for magazines, which is very important to build that kind of membership mentality and brand loyalty around your magazines. They're also less fickle form of revenue than advertising, and crucially, unlike advertising, you get control over that revenue stream. So, you get to keep it all rather than giving it to Facebook and Google. And as we all know, this is important because quality journalism is expensive, right? So, and I've got personal experience of this. In 2021, just check my notes, it was 2021, it seems like a very long time ago now. The Week Junior and the family of Week Junior magazines were acquired by Future, largely as because of our subscription business. So I think the 12 brands that Future brought with them something in the region of 1.2 million subscriptions. So it's obviously really, really valuable for them. But, there are some challenges as well to this cozy picture. The largest among them is the squeeze on household finances that leaves people thinking, is this subscription worth it? Is it value for money? Or have I got too many of them, basically? And so tonight we're going to pick at the edges of that sticker that says subscribe today and reveal those secret strategies that lie underneath. And also ask, I think, importantly, as editors, we don't traditionally focus on selling, I wouldn't say. How do we stop people getting tired of our product, tired of our subscriptions? How do we avoid becoming that unopened bulletin that stuffs up the inbox, or the print magazine that sits on the table and looks at you accusingly all week? So, but luckily we've got a brilliant panel here to help us reveal those secrets. Got Maisie McCabe from Campaign magazine, Lange from New Scientist, Abi Spooner from Atlas, and Nick de Semlyen from Empire magazine. So the shape of it tonight, each of our panelists will give us a short presentation to explain some of the things that they've got going on in their brands, and reveal a few secrets, I hope. And then we'll have a Q&A session, and then open it to the audience, and hopefully you'll have loads of really interesting and challenging questions. Not too challenging.
Challenging is fine.
Challenging is good, yeah, to ask. So, yes, without further ado, I've got... actually, I did ask Abi, because I was asking Abi, how would you describe to a kid what you do? And this is largely for my own benefit, because I needed to understand it. And as an editor of a kids magazine, it's actually it's a question that gets to the heart of it. So I'll put everybody on the spot and apologise for that. But I asked everybody, how would you describe what you do to a kid? So Maisie, Maisie McCabe, editor of Campaign, which is a magazine that tries to help people who work in advertising and media to do their jobs better. This is straightforward. Great.
I've got children, so I have to explain it. Sorry, I've got kids, so I've had to do that in real.
Brilliant. Thank
So do you want me to start?
Take it away.
I'm afraid I need the password for the phone.
Aha.
Sorry, starting strong. I don't know if you want to turn it off for a bit, I suppose, so we don't get this multiple. I've also been told I've got too many slides, so apologies. I spend most of the time moderating rather than presenting, so...
Go ahead, Maisie.
Oh yeah, all right. And I can't see it either, so it's like a double test. And this is quite a grand title. So we've got the evolution of the subscription model, not campaigns, like the subscription model. So we could move on. I don't actually have it printed out, yeah, so that's how smooth I am. So I guess, if we go back, how do I go back? Yeah.
Swipe left.
There we go. Are we there? Yes, okay. So I was appointed editor of Campaign in 2020 in March, and I came back from mat leave in October. So I thought I'd missed COVID, like it's all going to be fine, which was hilarious, obviously. And we had various challenges with our revenue. We did have some subscription revenue, but a lot of our revenue was either advertising or through live events. So we'd done a lot of awards and a lot of conferences. So the first thing we did in 2021 was restrict the number of articles people could read for free. And that was something, I have to say, as a journalist, I was a little bit nervous about. Like, you want people to read your content. And I was really worried that if people kept hitting the paywall, that they would eventually sort of not come back, essentially. But, it wasn't my decision, so it happened. And actually, thank God it did. So if we go back into 2022, so in 2022, we restricted the metered access even further. And so it meant that it reset every 3 months rather than every month. So you only get one article basically for free as a registered subscriber on Campaign. We also kind of expanded our subscription tiers. So in addition to, we'd always had a subscription tier, essentially all you got was unlimited access to Campaign and the school reports with it, which is a big project that publishes in the spring. So we added an additional layer. So we had added the knowledge tier, which was sort of backed by a new tracker, so a data tracker. So it has new reports that sort of help agencies track their new business and obviously their rivals' new business. And so these additional bits of content were only sort of available to subscribers of the premium tier. And then we started out sort of with our corporate renewal kind of flow, started pushing the corporate and domain subscribers up onto this new tier, which is obviously more expensive. And then we also, so there's additional subscriber benefit, we offered knowledge and information bespoke bulletins, so they're not huge. So we have a big bulletin suite, we send 6 bulletins a day, and it's the main source of traffic for our readership. We don't really get much sort of traffic from social. And so these were just kind of additional subscriber content rather than, as an engagement push. We also bolstered that information tier of subscriptions. So rather than just getting as much as you want, we had bespoke information content that was sort of gated up front. So even people couldn't have for their one free story. So then if we go to 2023, this is really small here. So so one of the issues we had, so we'd done a really good job, or the sales team had done a really good job of selling these premium subscriptions, but obviously we needed to make sure that when it came up to renewals, people weren't questioning the quality of the content. So reinforced the knowledge tier with additional features and different types of content, some of which built on existing products, such as school reports, some of which were kind of new bespoke things for the knowledge. And end of print, shock horror. So we found out about, so Campaign is sort of 55 years old, always been in print, it was obviously weekly until 2016. And, I don't know, we'll come on to this later, but, it was quite sad. It was obviously not my decision to come out of print, but we have, it has been quite freeing. And actually, I enjoy the flexibility, and it's incredibly efficient. It's not always the most romantic, but we've innovated some of our projects. So there's one called Power 100, which is a list of marketers, and also our sort of review of the year, the lists we did in a new jazzy way with video and beautiful kind of design. I'm probably already running over, am I? So we've got a gated model. So we have 3 tiers. So the only content you get for free on Campaign is essentially things that are, we sort of do it for the kind of moral reason, if essentially. So that we did a piece that was on the maternity policies of agencies in our space. And so it included just a lowdown of all their policies, and that we gave away for free because we thought it was important content for the people who work in the industry. And similarly, we signed our sort of first transgender columnist last year, and it's important to them their columns were available to read, so they're free, but essentially everything else is behind the gate, and that's what we do. I think I probably forgot that, but in 22, everything is gated as standard, rather than in the past, we used to have one story free, so that meant obviously if you went into an incognito browser that you could read almost anything. So registered meters is like run-of-the-mill news, bits and pieces, things that you might be able to get elsewhere. I would probably argue our version was, higher quality, but still, not exclusive. And so then for the information tier, we've got, interviews with holding company bosses, profiles of people, maybe exclusive news that we've found out because of our contacts, that sort of thing. And then the knowledge is, so I mentioned earlier the kind of new streams of content. So we have, this is a marketer Sightline is a new set of interviews with marketers, as you could guess. And then we also have more premium kind of versions. So the way we see it is the sort of knowledge content is more about the business of agencies and like the business of running media companies opposed to what they're actually doing. So it's a bit more practical into sort of helping them really, really do their job better, if that makes sense. So if I can go on to results. Again, sorry, I should have printed this out, not very well planned. But essentially, our if you can see that our subscription revenue has doubled in the last 4 years. Our subscription revenues, it's grown over double digits basically every year for the past 4 years, up 24% last year. And yeah, our profit is up 80% over the 4 years. So it's really, as I say, it was sort of something when it began, I was cautious about, but I really also believe, I'm a media journalist, I believe in the value of, I know you all do, of quality content, and it needs to be paid for. So I'm actually quite proud of how robust the paywall is now, because, I think it deserves it. And this is probably too in-depth to go into too much, but essentially, if you look on the right-hand side, you can see that's more consistently in the positive, and that's our digital engagement since we came out in print. So it's a key metric for Haymarket because it's sort of what is used by the sales team when they're looking to put prices of subscriptions up. So we've consistently hit kind of around 10% since we went out of print, apart from March, but that was when that project was last year, and we moved it into April, which was up 18%. Sorry, is that too quick? But there we go. So that's me.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Kat, I did ask you the same question. How do we describe what you do to kids? What is New Scientist? New Scientist is a website and a magazine about how the world works and why it's amazing. It's very close to my heart as well.
Well, I would say we're not just a website and a magazine, but I was trying to think, do children understand, would my kids understand, we're a media brand, so I just sort of thought, what would they understand? But, right, that's how it works. Okay, good. So, this is sort of where we are right now. So, most people know New Scientist for the magazine. As we now know, we're also a website. I would say that our kind of, where we are on our subscriber journey right now is that we are kind of still in a mentality of taking content from a magazine and trying to find a way to sell that to people on digital platforms that really make sense for them and that ties into their life and kind of that they want to come back to with that same regular cadence that they do a magazine and with those same kind of high quality values that they see in the magazine. So that's a big challenge for us, and we can talk a bit more about that later. But so currently we have our content on digital and in print. We do online events. We have a tours business. So we do these amazing kind of once in a lifetime trips, so like into the, a cruise in the Arctic with Richard Dawkins or whatever, that our staff get to go on, which is very nice. Forget about videos, because of course we do videos. We do a lot of live events, and our flagship event is New Scientist Live, which happens every October, and we take over like a big space in the Excel Centre, and we have kind of upwards of 20,000 visitors who come through that space over the course of the weekend. And we do lots of other events as well. We do kind of instant experts, so taking some of our topics and turning them into like a one-day event where you get to have FaceTime with these brilliant experts and become an expert yourself on these topics. And we've also done courses. We've stopped doing new courses, but that is something that as a subscriber you can have access to. So we have diversified revenue streams, but our biggest by far is subscriptions. And we've been a subscriptions business from kind of, let's say, day one, like from as long as I can remember. So in a way that kind of puts us in a good position because we've got that experience and it's been our business model for a long time. And I think now we're trying to diversify those revenue streams to have that extra kind of support in this very turbulent media industry that we're in right now. So we've launched, in the last year, we've launched B2B events. So we've got one next week about emerging technologies. So that's sort of aimed at like C-suite executives and people who want to understand how they can use our science expertise to think about what's next for their business. We're expanding our tours offering so that we have kind of other price points. So we're doing weekenders, so kind of family weekend trips that you can go on and like do rewilding in Dorset or whatever. Sorry, I shouldn't say and whatever. It makes it sound like I don't care, but it's really good. And the sort of huge one for us is that we've expanded into the US in a big way. So we've always had a subscriber base in the US. It's always been smaller than in the UK. We don't have the same brand recognition, and we have a lot of traffic from the US, but it's mainly flyby traffic. So the challenge is like, how do we turn that traffic into sort of brand awareness? And we're working with Atlas on this, and ultimately into subscribers. And that feeds back into this challenge of what is our digital proposition that really showcases our brilliant content in the same way, with the love and the kind of, people love the mag, people who read it love it. How can we recreate that on digital? And so 2 years ago, we set up an office in New York, and we have about 13 journalists there now. So that's a massive focus and a big investment for us. This is a very marketing-y slide, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I'm not a marketeer. But we were asked to kind of talk about our marketing, like subscriber side of things. So these are sort of the 3 pillars from our marketing team. So really looking at that customer journey, the pricings, conversion rate optimization. So how do we kind of use tools to improve that? Personalization. So when people come to us and register, how can we turn those into subscribers and all of that kind of stuff? Everything we do needs to be informed by data. So, that's a huge part of what that team does. And then obviously focusing on, it's not enough just to get the people through the door. How do we keep them, and how do we improve that kind of that engagement and that lifetime value? So I'll skip over sort of the rest of that. Then this just gives you an overview of what we offer right now as our subscription sort of. So this was the bank holiday weekend package, and these change all the time, but we are doing a lot of intro offers to try and kind of get people in, especially in the US, where we just want people to get to know us. And we offer principally a digital subscription and a bundle subscription where you get print and digital together. We also have an app only, web only, and I think it's for ABS. So for ABC, I think you have to have a print offering, but it's like really in the small print. So, if you really just want the magazine, you can get it, but we're not going to make that we're not going to market it to you. And I would say, so we're thinking about kind of where most of our subscribers come from. Our newsletters perform really well. So we have 2 newsletters. We have a daily newsletter and a weekly newsletter that really kind of just highlight the content that we've got. More kind of listy, this is stuff that you might be interested in. And then we have content newsletters. So we have one about evolution, we have one about physics and space, we have one about animals, and we have one about health. And we're looking at sort of launching new and different newsletters and looking at how to kind of optimize those. And then actually what we do is, this is a secret. So we want a secret to subscriptions. If I knew all the secrets, I would probably have a much bigger job, be like the CEO or something. But so what we actually do is because they're written by really good journalists and they're basically like a little feature in these newsletters, not really what a newsletter is. So then we also put that behind the paywall and loads of people subscribe to read it, but they don't know that they could just get it free in a newsletter. So don't tell them, but now you know. I'm not sure, it's a bit of a weird strategy, but it kind of works. So newsletters, social, referral traffic does convert, not on the same scale. Obviously, we do paid marketing. And the kind of content that does best for us at the moment is really our special issues. So about once a month, we'll do a special issue in the magazine, and it will be like anxiety, and it will be a bunch of questions around anxiety. What is it? Why do some people feel more anxious than others? And just stuff that people really want to know. New science in there, really good reporting. And then we sell a lot of magazines, and then also we sell a lot of subscriptions with those online. So we're looking at how to kind of make more of those. And then finally, this is just a kind of summary of where things are going. So the red line is print, which is going down, as you would expect. The green line is digital, which is going up, and the blue line is bundles, so it's kind of, up there as well. So, we want to sell more digital subscriptions, but we also want that digital proposition to be really strong so that people have that connection to the brand through digital that they have in print. I think I'll leave it there.
Fantastic, thank you very much. That's great, and some extra secrets you wouldn't know anywhere else unless you were here in the room, so thanks for that. Excellent. Abi, we come to you, and as the only, I'm not all about pointing out differences at all, but as the only non-editor on the panel.
The pressure.
In all seriousness, though,
I'm here representing the dark arts of subscriptions marketing.
The dark arts, yes, exactly. And I expect, as this is the BSME, it is the Society of the British Society of Magazine Editors, isn't it? It's a B. We've got a room full of editors, I presume, and hence my kind of question to you: how do you explain what you do to somebody as simple as me? So, Abi, you said we help publishers make money from subscriptions now and in the future, and we help them to understand their audiences, which is super simple and understandable.
Sounds it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It is as simple as that. Of course it is. Hi everyone, I'm Abi Spooner. I headed up customer strategy for Dennis, so worked with Dan. And then, obviously, we had the huge mega brands of the week and the week Junior as we moved over to Future. We moved out of Future and with two ex-colleagues, so Karen O'Connor, who I think lots of you know as the MD of the week, and Lucy Davis, who was head of marketing on the week. We have launched Atlas, and we're set up to be basically the consultants we always wanted to come in and talk to us when we were publishers. Often a consultant would come in and go, I've got a solution for you. Even before I'd gone, well, do you know what my problem is? And they'd have not often be people coming and going, you need to sell to younger people on TikTok. It's like, well, that's not my problem, but thanks. So part of what we've done, we are trying to build in-house systems that work for people, that make sense to publishers and are relevant to their audiences. So effectively, what we are saying is we have a whole process called Understand, Unlock and Grow. And that first part, that understand part, is where we just dig into publisher businesses and try and understand what's going on, understanding their audiences, and my favourite bit, digging into the data and making it tell stories. Because actually there is so much in a publishing business, especially around subscriptions, that you can take out of the data. And we say we're data informed. We are not slaves to that data because there is art as well as science in this. And we are data informed. And we were also, and my, again, favourite part of mine, it's all around taking that data and allowing you to make really great strategic decisions as a result of it. And because we've done that understand phase, what we try and do is actually make suggestions that are relevant and practical and useful. So
I will talk about my favourite subscription KPI in a second. Yes, I have one. But generally, that's our approach. There's some of our clients. I'm looking at that terrified, actually. We've only been around, I think, 19 months, but we've worked with lots of people, lots of companies, I think, represented in the room. I've also accidentally launched a training business, which is we're doing subscriptions training for the PPA. So any one of your teams want to spend more time with me learning about subs KPIs? Cool. Subs is really complicated, though. And it is very, very difficult. It's a bit like, I always say it's a bit like flying a plane. If you're sat in the pilot seat, there are a million dials to look at. And there are a million things that you could be monitoring. But actually, that's what your subs team and your marketers should be doing. And the top level KPIs available for everyone around the business to make great decisions from are a bit like the bit that you watch on the screen in the back of the plane. It's the where we've come from, where we are now, and where we're going. It's like we left 3 hours ago, we should arrive in 6 hours, this is where we are at the moment. And actually there are metrics that allow us to do that with subscriptions. So subscriptions and the shift to subscriptions favours magazine and content publishers because it has a really simple aim. It's about finding customers and serving content to them. And it's about making money out of the people who value your content. But it's got to be a relationship. It's not like you're selling a thing and once you've sold it, you're done. It's about building a long-term relationship with your customers. If you're not fulfilling the needs that they have, you're going to have a really difficult job of trying to keep them engaged and hopefully still paying. So this is a slide stolen from a book by the guy who runs Zuora, which is one of the biggest subs businesses. They own the engine that drives a lot of really big subs businesses. And basically, this is the old business model where in the 70s to the 90s, we were effectively selling products. And it was all about, I'm selling this product to my customers. Here are the ways in which, here are the channels in which I'm going to sell this product. But actually, and I think it's data that has accelerated this, now the new business model puts our customers, puts our readers at the centre of our business models. So as Kat was saying, it's not just about I'm sending you a magazine. I want you to come on holiday with me. I want you to spend time watching the videos. I want you to come to this event. It's about building a long-term relationship and actually it's a membership mindset with your customers. So this is actually core to the way that subscription strategy needs to work. And from working with loads of our clients, I find most people spend their time in the far right-hand corner. It's all about the marketing tactics. What channels should I use? How much should I be spending? What should I be doing? But actually, what's really interesting is if you start at the other side, on the left-hand side, with your customer, understanding what your customer needs, what solution your product, your content is fulfilling for that customer. Because actually, what we think we're selling people isn't actually what they're taking away. There's a guy called Theodore Levitt, who was an ads guy from the 50s or 60s, I think. He said, you don't go to the shop to buy a 3-inch drill bit. You actually want a 3-inch hole. What you think you're selling to your customer is not the solution that your customer sees. So actually, our recommendation is all about understanding your audience before you start doing anything. The more you do to understand your audience, to be choiceful about who in your audience you're going to target. For example, if you're a finance magazine, and your core audience is wealthy gentlemen over 65, suddenly going, I'm going to target women in their 40s, is not necessarily going to bring you great business success unless you're pivoting your entire product. So establishing your audience, deciding how you're going to pivot to present that solution to them. It's like, we help you make sense of your world. It's a really strong message. Or it could be you're bringing people a moment of relaxation, or you're telling them what they need to know to be able to do their jobs brilliantly. So effectively, those objectives and that audience understanding means that when you do spend your time on the far right-hand side, you've got so much information about your audience that you know where they are, you know what social channels they might be on, you know where they are reading, you know where they're going out. You've got that opportunity to go out to them with the message and start that relationship most effectively. Finally, I love lifetime value. Someone said they were going to get me a t-shirt with I Heart LTV on it. Lifetime value is an amazing metric. It is a combination of all of your key subscriptions metrics. It's about your retention, so how long customers are staying, how much they're paying, how much they cost to get on board. Now, lifetime value is the measure of how much profit a customer is going to bring you over their lifetime of being a customer. Now, they may be with you, some titles, if children's titles, they might only be there for a couple of years, so you plan for that. But some titles, you can use LTV to identify how much money someone's going to bring you over time. So it's the most accurate way to judge how successful publishing models are. And it allows you also, at a very sort of top level CFO question, if I put £1 in now, when am I going to get that £1 back in profit? And being able to reduce something as complex as a subscription down to that simple question is a really, really powerful way of achieving. So if you're not measuring lifetime value, if you need some help, come and talk to me. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you so much. Insights there from somebody who's like flying the aircraft and got their eye fixed firmly on that LTV dial. Watch it closely. Thank you very much. And Nick de Semlyen is the editor of Empire magazine, which is a peek behind the scenes of the most exciting movies and TV shows and talking to the people who make them.
I should have added lots of pictures of people in spandex on the cover. That's pretty much what we do. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to our office. Appreciate that. We're the really messy area over there with all the toys. Empire has come a long way to the Lantern. We started off 35 years ago. I wasn't there. But it was conceived in a grotty pub off the Holloway Road. Fun fact, it was called Project Odeon until people came to their senses. That was the working title. And over those 35 years, obviously we've evolved, and we're going through challenges just like everyone is. Print is under a lot of pressure. Everyone knows that. Hollywood is having a hard time, and people are going into fewer stores. And on top of that, we had the pandemic, and there were no movies coming out. And actually, it started. Editor 1 month before the pandemic started, and I thought I'd pushed the wrong button, but all the cinemas shut down. There were no films, no actors talking to us. But I think what we learned from that, we already knew it, but it was more confirmation that we have this amazing, really passionate, loyal base of subscribers and people who really love what we do. And so Empire VIP Club is kind of similar to what you were saying. It's about turning Empire something that's not just a brand. It's a way of life. It's an experience that isn't just getting the magazine, reading it, and then waiting another month to get the next one. It's providing people with more stuff all the way through. And I'll start the slides. So the print magazine is still the beating heart of Empire. It's still, we put so much care and attention into every page. We do something special for subscribers. We do these amazing bespoke. I want to give a shout out to Chris Lupton, the genius Chris Lupton over there. He insisted on that wording. He commissions every month these incredible bits of art that these amazing artists do, fresh spins on whatever the film is on the cover, and people absolutely love them. They make the issue really collectible. And we get great feedback from the filmmakers as well. The next, I'll skip through that one. In fact, the next kind of element of Empire VIP Club is event, and it's a really important one to us. And much more so since coming out of lockdown, that people were stuck at home, and these VIP Club events are a chance for, like-minded people to get together and meet Empire, get closer to the brand, but also to get in the room with James Cameron, Michael Keaton, all of these incredible people. And it turns Empire into an experience that it's not just a magazine you read, it's a magazine you can hang out with. So we've got another event coming up in a couple of weeks, Furiosa, but it's been a really cool kind of thing that is quite unique to us. Cinema tickets, you get, if you're an Empire VIP Club member, you get, we've partnered up with Picture House, and you could get either a year's Picture House or a year's Cineworld thing, and you get some free tickets. So even when you're going to the cinema, you're kind of doing it on Empire. And then there's the Empire Spoiler Special podcast. You get a free subscription to this as part of the Empire VIP. And this has been a really popular thing, and no one else is doing a podcast like this, which really drills deep into the latest movies. And again, it makes Empire a more kind of intimate experience that people can listen to it, and has kind of created kind of relationships between people listening and the people doing. Chris Hewitt is the kind of the mad mastermind. He's the one on the left. And he kind of has gone above and beyond in kind of over-delivering, actually, on like these amazing podcasts that people get every single month. And for the latest Mission Impossible film, 15 hours of audio with the director, which is kind of nuts. And I'm quite scared of what he's doing for the next one out next year. He's probably recording it already. So altogether, VIP Club is our way of trying to, give our really loyal, passionate readers more of what they want. And it's been a cool thing to do. So yeah, that's it really.
Fantastic, thank you very much. I'm going to ask Nick a question straight away, so you keep holding the mic. We've got to share the mics around, so we might have to do a bit of juggling.
Yeah.
And I'll ask you the question, and then I think I'll get everyone a glass of water.
Okay.
While you answer it, okay. So yeah, you said that Empire, the concept, the idea of Empire as a magazine was like a pub conversation in Camden a long time ago, perhaps. But can you sort of shine light on where and when the idea of Empire VIP came about, how it was born, and perhaps who came up with it?
Yeah, it was born just before the pandemic. I have to give the credit to my brilliant predecessor, Terry White, who many of you will know. She's brilliant, and she came up with the idea of kind of taking a gamble and seeing if people would go beyond the magazine. It's certainly evolved. It's something that we're still working on. We're still finding different facets to it. Definitely the events thing has kind of come into its own since the pandemic. But yeah, Terry.
And are those, so sorely missed, Terry, she's a great figure in publishing and winner of the BSME Mark Boxer's Lifetime Achievement Award. Yes, all those events that you just described are free to subscribers or exclusive to subscribers? How does that work?
They're exclusive, and it's included in the package. So basically, it's a monthly fee, or you can sign up for 6 months or a year. And we try to do one event every month. Last year we did 3 in 1 month, which almost killed us. But we aim for 1 a month. And we partner up with all the studios. We've done them with HBO, with Disney, Universal, Warner Brothers. Everyone has got really kind of into it, and it's kind of a first come first served kind of situation where we put the call out, and if you're a VIP member, they sell out very quickly, almost instantly.
How many people might attend? Average one?
We're doing our biggest one this summer. It's 450. Normally it's about 150, 200. So it would be nice to be able to do them bigger, but yeah,
it's a lot of work even so. Yeah, great. So I'm going to sort of dig right into the nitty gritty, seeing as we're talking about pricing and things like that. And you were talking about the paywall, and it went from, let's see, 3 a month, was it?
Yeah.
To
we should hold it in the middle. So we were always a little bit. What's the middle one? Translucent? No. We were not opaque. What's in between opaque and translucent? Yeah, sorry, that's my level year 6 chemistry coming out. So we were relatively vague, should we say, about how much you got as part of the metered model, publicly. And it was about 4 stories you used to get kind of as a metered. as a registered subscriber. So there was one that was outside the paywall essentially, because most of our content, as I said, was tagged metered, and so you could get 4 a month as a registered subscriber, and then as our very media savvy advertising audience would do, they would just open an incognito browser and read more. So we first we narrowed that to 1 article a month in 21, and then sort of in the spring of 22 made that 1 article every 3 months. So then you're really not actually getting very much content as a registered subscriber essentially. And then at the same time we built out, as I said, both kind of bespoke information, sort of subscriber only content, so that's the sort of standard level of subscriber content, but also started to make some of our, cut and I'm not getting my metaphors right, bread and butter stuff like, big wins or big people news, putting that as sort of as subscriber only content from the start as well. As we said, most of our subscribers are either domain-based or corporate subscribers, so it's something that we sell to businesses, and it's essentially like an employee benefit that they can do as part of their internal package essentially. So I guess it's maybe a slightly different situation to some of you in the room, because we're not having those individual kind of conversations with people in the same way.
Thank you. And I suppose to Kat, that you might have a sort of complementary or maybe contrasting experience on New Scientist. Are there any challenges potentially of serving like a print audience and a digital audience? And do you have to do things very differently for each?
It's a really big challenge, and it's something we're working out at the moment. So Atlas are doing a survey for us about our audience, and so one question I have is like, are we trying to convert that print audience to digital, or is it just a completely different audience? Do we have 2 separate audiences, or is it a Venn diagram? So stuff like that. We're still kind of on that journey, but we have so we give some of our content away for free, similarly to you, but it's probably a bit more. I think it's around 30%. So there's a lot of stuff that drives a lot of traffic for us that we make free. Things like, where to see the Northern Lights in the UK tonight, or whatever. You can read that somewhere else, but we have a really big amateur astronomy following, so we want to make that free, and that will drive like hundreds of thousands of sessions. So we will do that, and then all of our premium content, so all of our features are behind a paywall, our analysis and our sort of exclusive news, and we try and not do a load of stuff that you can read somewhere else, because we have a really expert team of very talented journalists, so we've got to make the most of them. And then so the app, I think, is interesting because we haven't given a lot of love to our app, but we've done a bit of analysis recently and found that so you can subscribe through the app, and people do that. It's also easier to pay for the subscription through the app. So I think like if you want people to subscribe to your product or register, you have to make it as easy as possible to do that. And we haven't got it right yet, but can you just, if they want to do it, don't make it hard for them. But if you download the app, you get like 3 stories for free. I'd also like to expand that so that people can share content to friends and family or whatever. And so we have, there's ways to get our content for free, and then we're implementing a kind of smart paywall where it will look at the propensity for somebody to subscribe. So if we think that somebody is never going to subscribe, then we just give them the content, and if we think that they're very likely to subscribe, then they see the paywall much faster. So we're about to roll that out. So I feel like I'm teaching people to suck eggs here, but so we're just, that's piano, so we're just launching that, and it'll be really interesting to see how that works for us. But I do think some people are just never going to pay, and you can spend a lot of time worrying about kind of stopping them from reading your content, but is that the best place to focus your efforts? I don't think so. Like, go for the people who really are likely to be those customers that stay with you for a long time, and give them something that they really want, and stop worrying so much about the people who are just going to try and read it for free.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, I'll come back to that. I think about the
I didn't really answer your question.
the
I sort of did.
content that drives subscription, because I think that'll be really interesting to people in the room. But I think also what we're dancing around here is the sort of nitty-gritty question of pricing, right? So this is one for Abi. Pricing. How do we decide what to charge for our product? Should we go high or low? Discount, get loads of people in, but will
you're
they
asking
convert?
the wrong question. You're asking the wrong question.
Right.
Price isn't about price. We think about price as am I going to charge £3.95 for a copy, or am I going to make you subscribe for £55, whatever. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of very clever tricks you can do about price points. Are they nice, shiny price points like $34.99, or do you want something that sounds like it's more technical and complicated? And there are lots of, should it end with a 7 is one of my favourite ones. But actually, it's not about price, it's about value. And price and value, people kind of think of the same things, but they're not. Value is effectively an exchange that you're having with your audience. Value is, I am going to spend time with this product, and I value it so much that I'm going to pay you to allow me to continue this relationship. So effectively, yes, there are price points, and you can, building up from customer expectations around price and things like that, for this is what I'm getting, am I paying monthly, is it the equivalent of a monthly magazine or a daily newspaper feed, all of those kind of things. You can work out roughly where you are. But if the value that you are giving your customers is not enough, whatever you charge them, they're not going to pay. Right? There's a really interesting bit of research that you can do to your subscribers, and you say, do you think subscription to this title, this product is great value, good value, acceptable value, terrible value? And it's really interesting. I've seen it work on multiple titles. If your customers come back saying, yes, it's terrific value, you're not charging enough. You should have most of your audience saying, this product is good value. If they're more great, if they're more effusive than that, you've got a yield opportunity there.
Excellent. Right, okay, so price is the wrong question.
Price is important, don't get me wrong.
Excellent. Yeah.
Just cover your costs as well.
Yeah, exactly. Nick, so Kat was telling us about some of the things that they do, especially for things that you do which drive subscriptions, and the app in particular. Is there any content that you produce that always hits that sort of, jackpot, and you get a sort of rush of subscriptions on it, do you know?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like a bit of a pipeline. Is you want to pull people into the newsstand, subscribing to that, and then we do that through, putting Marvel and Star Wars and all the other things that our readers love, and that pull in these kind of groups of super fans from all over the place that like one particular franchise. If we have the Big World exclusive, hopefully they come to the newsstand, then hopefully they subscribe, and then once they've subscribed, hopefully we upgrade them to VIP. So it's kind of trying to push them up one step at a time. In terms of content, it's really just I think being first is huge for us, but just also delivering the best content there can be, the photo shoots no one else is getting, the interviews that no one's doing. We've started a thing where we do digital covers that aren't the same as the newsstand. When we do a profile and a photo shoot, we put a digital cover and we put that article up in full on the website like 2 weeks into our on sale period. And that's to kind of give people a taste without giving the whole magazine away, but hopefully then we'll compel them to sign up and subscribe. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. And also, you were talking about the podcast. Now, you presumably can listen to that, but you need to pay for it.
We have 4 podcasts. We have the Empire regular podcast, which is free, and the Empire Spoiler Special podcast, which is paid for.
Yeah.
We also have Pilot TV, which is dedicated to TV shows, because there are so bloody many of this. We're trying to guide people through all of that. There's so much. And then we have Pilot Plus, which we only started last year, which is paid for. We didn't know if people were going to want to pay for another podcast on top of the free that we already do. And we already gave away the free one for TV, but it succeeded way beyond what we expected.
So what's is the model there is it brand engagement? Is it a separate revenue stream, or are you always trying to direct your audience back to the print magazine, get them?
It's really just what you were saying about value. I think it's just giving value, but also, podcast in particular, you have quite an intimate relationship, I think, with a podcast that you listen to. You've got the same voices in your ear, and you kind of, once you get that for free, if there's an extra thing, you want more of it. And it's and again, it's just value. It's we do as many every week. You get your own episode, you get spoiler things, and so it's good value for money, I think.
Yeah, and Maisie, you've got your reports that sort of drive subscriptions, and people want to see that. What metrics are you sort of using on your websites to sort of make sure that people are engaging with it and that you're hitting the right buttons for people?
What metrics? So essentially, Haymarket uses our kind of main KPI. I'm not sure we heard your KPI. Your favourite? Oh, that's it. Sorry, pardon me. So our Haymarket's main KPI is a weighted engagement score, essentially, and so we bring together people who come to the site 4 times in a month and people who read 5 articles in a month. And it's weighted towards the people who come 4 times, because I think there's some research you probably know that suggests that people who come more regularly are probably have a bigger lifetime value. And so, I mean, sort of driving the weighted engagement score is, I'm trying to specifically answer your question, is probably the main metric. So we obviously have, we have an analytics team that sort of builds a dashboard using Google Analytics and also logged in data, essentially. So our focus is completely on, a lot of the time is on subscriber engagement. So it's kind of the build down from that. So for the big reports, so the school reports is our review of sort of the top 100 or so agencies. There's sort of the number of people, obviously subscribers that come that month, but then it's how it impacts that subscriber engagement score, which is important. We do quite a lot of marketing around the big reports. So the majority of our big reports are subscriber only. But usually what we do is we sort of have the model is for individual subscribers, because we do have some, they essentially have to give, and you probably all know how this works, they have to give their details, but essentially don't pay until the end of the first month. But during a period like the school reports, we change all the gating and change all the marketing, so people they usually get maybe a slight discount for the first 3 months, say, but they do have to actually pay some money. So that would obviously avoid people trying to game the system and cancelling and reading all that high quality content. Yeah, indeed, we get the engagement numbers, I suppose, but not the revenue. So.
Excellent, thank you very much. So yeah, it's always lurking in the back of all of these discussions at the moment, especially publishing, everyone's scratching their heads, is the spectre of AI, and we have to deal with it, I'm afraid. So I'm just going to throw out to everybody and say, okay, where does AI come into it? Is anyone using AI? These are the dark arts, maybe, or maybe it's dead simple. Does anyone want to sort of jump in there?
It's not going to be a very long answer. I actually missed a joke earlier, because we have a thing called, our data tracker is called Campaign AI, but it's advertising intelligence rather than artificial. So that launched in 22 and is probably going to be rebranded. But it's not in my wheelhouse, so it's fine. We don't use AI, if I'm just going to be completely honest, very much at all. We obviously write about it quite a lot. The advertising industry is using it really quite a lot already, mainly for kind of scoping and kind of visuals rather than front-end work. But it's in that kind of box of things I really need to start thinking about more seriously, if that's okay.
So it's something that I think about a lot, and obviously as a science and tech magazine, I feel like we should be doing stuff and kind of leading the way in this. My attitude is very much kind of handle with care and be transparent about what you're doing. And so New Scientist was acquired by DMG a couple of years ago, and so as a wider group, not actually New Scientist, but the other brands have started using AI for kind of, so the way I break it down is like, can AI help you to do something that you already do, but make it quicker, cheaper, easier? And then can AI help you to do something that you can't do already right now? And so that first bit is kind of exciting, because a lot of our processes are very like clunky and manual, and what if we could free up that time? And so I do think there's a space to use AI for that. And then I think there's really exciting opportunities to use AI to create new products. I was at the Guardian the other week, and they were talking about how they're using AI to create their cooking app. It's like, it's not necessarily evil. Like, it can be super useful, and it can launch new products for you. And we've been using AI for a really long time. It's just what we're really talking about is generative AI. So I don't think AI is a dirty word. And I think, exciting opportunities for us at New Scientists, like, do we want to do our own AI trained on all of our amazing content? We've got a huge archive, that our users could use to, like, they know it's an AI, it's not sneaky, but they could, do some really cool stuff with it. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff around text to speech. So we currently pay an agency to, actors record a lot of our content for people to listen to it. I'm not saying we're going to get rid of them, but maybe we don't do all of our content. So maybe we could use AI to do the rest of it if people want it. And I think that's the key thing, is like, do people want it? So experiment with it. See if people make it clear that it's using AI, and then see if people like it. And also translation, I think, is really exciting, because we could be reaching a huge audience if we could very easily translate our content, and that's something that you can, it's kind of like, I think 99% there at the moment with the technology. So the short answer is, at New Scientists, we're not doing a lot yet, but I'm really thinking about it a lot, and I would like very soon to start doing some of these experiments and just be really transparent about it. But I do think it's, a really good opportunity.
So, two things. First of all, there are some cracking bits of technology out there that are allowing people to understand that propensity to subscribe as users hit websites. In marketing, you're always trying to give the right person the right message at the right time. That is really hard, because everybody's in a different place in their customer journey. There are some really nice bits of tech that sit on websites and allow you to do that. The other side is about actually understanding what it is about articles that make them magnets for subscribers. So there's a company who were looking at taxonomy of articles. So that might just be what the article's about. It might be how long it is. It might be how many pictures it's got in it. It might be how quickly the key points comes at the top of the article, or anything like that. So there's loads of things that it used to be that you got a load of interns and you locked them in a room for 3 months to do all of that. And then you spent months running that through processes to come up with, what is it about this article that means that loads of people choose to subscribe through it? You can now do that with AI in about a week and a half. And actually, what it comes out with is effectively how to help your journalists to understand what I would call writing for LTV looks like. And if I said to a journalist, could you write this in a way that will increase LTV? You just go, what? But if I know that if this is a long form article that makes the point really early and has a piece of explain a content halfway through or something like that, and I can actually say, this is what it feels like to write this article, this is what subscribers are responding to at this moment, that's really powerful.
It's a game changer for transcribing, I'll tell you that. It's actually scarily good at it. I'm cautious. I've seen The Terminator, so I'm keeping a close eye on it. But what I will say is we don't do copy with AI. We pride ourselves on having world-class copy, and whether that's marketing copy or editorial, it's got to be from humans. But I'm sure it will have uses, so we're keeping an eye on it like everyone else.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So, conscious of the time, I've just got a ton of questions left, but it's out over to you. I'll send a mic round. If you could just wait until you get the mic before answering your question, then we get a really nice audio of your question. So, should we start with Jamie there?
Hi all, I'm Jamie from Pulse. Hi, this is mainly a question for Maisie actually. So before taking the plunge and going behind the paywall, how did you manage your relationship with advertisers?
With advertisers? Well, I mean, our digital advertising is not, like, I mean, it's not non-existent, but it's not a huge numbers game, if that makes sense. So a lot of our digital advertising is linked to content. So it's about kind of leads and clicks and stuff on promoted articles, essentially. I'm just trying to think whether there was any relationship to manage. I'm not sure I know the exact answer, Jamie, if I'm honest, but I can find out, because it wasn't, I guess, because we already had a registered model and there was already a bar there. I don't know. Sorry, that's not a very good answer. I will find out. I don't think that it was a volume game anyway, if that makes sense, because I think, we're sort of selling on leads. It's like lead gen from a lot of the occasions. But I will find out and email you, if that's okay. Sorry, it's not a very good start.
Next question. Yeah, just chuck your hands up and as...
Can I just say one thing though? As an advertising journalist, like digital is so hard. I know I don't need to tell any of you, but like to compete on a numbers game with digital advertising, the benefits that you get from a known audience and, for your subscribers in terms of, the effectiveness of that for your advertisers, if that makes sense, I would imagine would outweigh the numbers that you lose, because, none of us can compete with Meta and Google. As the 75% of ad spend in the UK is performance marketing. I know you know all that's why we're here. But I will find out whether there's any response and what I can do to help. But I think the benefits from having, a more focused, targeted audience would outweigh the scale. Sorry. Second go.
Where are we going now?
Cool. Over here, if you could just state your name and where you're
Alan Murphy, Nix Media. I'd be interested to find out, what did you try that didn't work and how did you know?
And this question is for everyone who wants to jump in on that.
We've done a couple of things. I mean, we've looked into a couple of things, I suppose. So the courses that we did, we stopped doing them. So New Scientist Academies, we still make them available, but we're not producing any new courses. I don't know how we knew. I guess we probably weren't selling enough. And we've looked into some other things. So we've looked into doing a light app, and we decided that it wasn't a priority at that time. I think we stopped looking into a lot of things, when the economic downturn happens. So I think that's the thing, really, isn't it? You just have to double down on your kind of core business. But there's some things that I think we will revisit, like doing some sort of light version. But yeah, it's probably not a great answer, but I suppose those courses just weren't the kind of smash hit that we expected.
With Campaign AI, which I sort of mentioned is not in my domain, but I think they'd imagined, so it's basically like a tracker of agencies' new business, essentially, and they'd imagined that there would be a big audience for that in and of itself, and they would sell that as a kind of license to companies. But actually what we've found is that people are much more interested in, the journalism and the analysis. That's obviously why they come to Campaign. Often they've got access to data elsewhere. And so what we've done is increasingly bundle in those, the analysis of the data tracker, and then also actually as we move in, kind of move that generally into the knowledge tier. So it was imagined that we would all, again, I don't know how public this is, secrets of my first secret. There was an idea that there would be a third tier, which was going to be called the business, and that would be this tracker in and of itself. But yeah, as I say, people can get research elsewhere. It's the kind of the additional layer of our journalism is what people come to us for.
I've actually got a better one.
Oh, well done.
So this is also a secret, so don't tell people on my team. I know. But so we have a podcast, and it's reasonably successful, and some people really love it, but it's not growing, and so I don't want to do it anymore. So, I want a podcast that's going to grow. So let's do, I think we should be doing podcasts. And I'd love to know, how to do a successful,
15 hours.
paid, I'd like to be in a position where people want to pay to listen to our podcast. And at the moment, I feel like the numbers grew and then they stopped growing. And if you're not growing, you're not, that's not successful. So I'm going to stop it and we're going to reinvent it. We're not going to, add something else and see if that works.
So not so much it didn't work, but I think it's always worth trying things. And one of the things that I always say to marketers is watch the people who are doing this really well. The Economist, the FT, the Times, who's really nailing this? Watch them when they do it once. Keep an eye on it. And if they do it again, copy it. Because that's the point. Because it's really important to go out and fail. Because you never learn anything really from success. It's just lovely. And if you fail on stuff, you learn so much. And actually, I think things that we launched a little app on the week at one point, thinking a daily kind of news update thing would work and people would want it and advertisers would buy it. And actually, we just didn't have the customer proposition right, but actually it taught us loads about our audience, which we then folded into the week's own website. So if things fail, yeah, it's horrible, but actually just make sure you take the value from it that you can turn into something else or pivot into a different direction.
This isn't a secret, sorry. But yeah, Pilot TV started off as a newsstand magazine, its own thing that only lasted one issue, sadly. We were really disappointed by that. But instead of abandoning it completely, we kind of turned it into the podcast, which actually turned out to be a really good kind of house for it, because you can react to TV on a daily basis rather than as a monthly magazine. So I guess that shows that you can take something and evolve it, change it into something else if it doesn't work out the first time.
Do we have any more questions? This guy here, thanks.
Hi there, Jonathan Bound from Media. It's a question for Nick about events. Given that editorial teams are stretched more than ever and have to sort of turn their hand to more and more different things, I'm just thinking about the strategic value of events and their limited audience, and the fact that you mentioned 200 or 400 people out of a pool of thousands benefiting from it. What do you think is the value proposition of events for subscribers?
I think in our mind that there's a few things. Like it's great for the people in the room, but I think it also kind of builds, but it's good for the brand in that there's buzz that comes out. You get the studio promoting the brand because you got Warner Brothers, Disney, or whoever are making noise about it as well. And we've kind of found ways we try and squeeze as much out of them as we can. So if we did with the James Cameron Q&A, he did it in the room, but then a couple of weeks later we released that as a podcast for subscribers only. So there's kind of different tiers that you can move stuff around and skin the buffalo, whatever they're saying, is as much as you can. So yeah, it would be great if we could get thousands of people in a room, but I think you get an electricity in that room because it's 200 or 300 or 400 people that is amazing for the people. We've done bigger events and they're not as good.
Thank you. And perhaps can you talk about New Science as well? Something massive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is massive, and I think well, I suppose your question is like, why do a small event? So why do a big event? We get a different kind of buzz, I guess. It's absolutely huge, and it just brings the brand to life. And we have people who, they just like the feedback we get from it of having that contact. And I think this is something where, as an editorial team, I think we can't my team is amazing. Like the expertise they have and the conversations that we have about like quantum loopholes and the evolution of the brain and all this stuff, like every day my mind is blown. And I think like giving people access to that, we have really good relationships with scientists. They know the brand and they're happy to come and they love having that contact with our audience as well. And so we're giving people access to us, and there's a kind of like VIP tier that at the event where you kind of get, I mean, last year it looked a bit like a sort of sheep enclosure for subscribers to like go and like hang out with the editor, and maybe we might like do it a bit differently this year. But the kind of weird thing is that a lot of people come who aren't subscribers. So there is a brand awareness piece there, and I'm kind of really interested to think about how do we turn them into subscribers or give them some sort of membership that they do want. But yeah, the feedback that we get and the buzz that you get from like people having that hands-on, there's literally hands-on demos, you know, that you can do, and people come with their families. So some people travel from around the world and just come and stay in London for the weekend to go to it. So it's very cool.
So as a sort of like idea of size, how many? It's over several days, isn't it? How many people visit?
It's over 3 days. One day is a schools day, and we do a kind of D&I initiative. So we kind of get kids in from like more disadvantaged schools and give them that kind of STEM, that access to sort of really cool, exciting STEM stuff. So it's about, we also do it, you can do it virtually as well. So I think it's like about 25,000. But over the 2 days, I mean, I normally host a stage that seats about 400 people, and it's absolutely packed for the whole day. And like people standing at the back and queues for book signings, and yeah.
Wowzers. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Unless anyone has any more burning questions, we've got one at the back there. Excellent. Still questions coming, that's great.
Hi everyone, my name's Grace, and I'm actually a trainee solicitor, and I'm looking to work with media companies within the next year. So you talked about AI. So are you ever concerned that any of your company's trade secrets may inadvertently be leaked through the use of AI? And if so, are any of your organisations doing anything to sort of mitigate that risk amongst employees?
I can talk to that very briefly. So, I mean, we have like corporate accounts for Gen AI, so we use Copilot. So the idea is that our journalists use that rather than just kind of going out there and using like publicly available stuff. So that's how, I guess, the trade secrets. I think we're more concerned about AIs like crawling our content and then using it to train the AIs on, and like how do we start to negotiate a fair kind of deal around that. And it's a big question for everybody, and that that's something that we're working on. You can block the crawlers, but then it affects your search rankings, so it's difficult, but I think that we should be compensated for our content.
I'm not sure. Again, I think most of the work is about protecting the content that's behind the paywall. I think that there are working groups about how we can use it. I'd imagine in facilities, in the kind of procurement teams, there are people doing that without us.
Yeah, question from ex-chair Tim.
Yeah, hi, Tim Pollard from Car Magazine. All four magazine brands on stage are famous for really good quality content, and that's clearly a great way to hook people in to subscribe. But you also describe a world in which you're expected to do podcasts, events, courses, holidays even. How do you get I presume your teams haven't grown massively in recent years, unless they maybe have, but how do you retain the focus to continue doing what you really need to be doing, which is creating great content? And is that a challenge sometimes, of all these other things your teams now have to do?
More content, I've got to just pass it down.
Yeah, we are bigger actually. We have grown because of the revenue growth. It's, do I have everything perfect? Maybe not. It's a juggle. So like, for example, we obviously have events as well. Usually have to pay to go to them though. So we've got a big conference in Brighton, which is about 400 people in sort of a week and a half. So me and 5 colleagues will be going down there. We'll be moderating. Obviously next week we need to do our prep calls alongside keeping everything going. We try and have, I guess, the whole team has regular meetings with, weekly meetings or fortnightly meetings with the managers, going through workloads, try to prioritise. We try and make sure we discuss that. We have 9 o'clock every morning. Make sure, as soon as we find out if someone is overloaded, how can we share it out? So they're including the aforementioned AI. There are, 15 of us, which for trade journalism is a decent sized team. And so it's a bit of trial and error, I suppose, which is possibly not a great secret as an answer. But yeah, if anyone does find the secret, let me know.
Our team's grown a lot in the US, obviously, because we've set up that office. But our tours team was one person who set up this business, and it's really, really successful. And now he's hired a second person. He's delighted. But I think our philosophy is everything comes from the content, and we have to work together. And the ask on the editorial team does increase, and so I've started to push back now and say, look, there's kind of brainstorming and sharing that knowledge that we have. But if you want someone on my team to write commercial copy, or you want them to host an we're doing I don't know if it's official, probably can't say, but a really cool partnership, then you have to pay the amount of your commercial budget. We give people days off in lieu when they do events, and then New Scientist Live, it's all hands on deck, and the expectation is you have to have a really good reason not to be there. People host stages and people love it, and we fly a lot of people over from America. So I think it's kind of that it all comes from the content, and I think it's the job of the editor to remind all those other departments that if you break the content, none of your businesses are going to work, and so respect the editorial team.
Yeah, it's a lot, for podcasts and events and the website and a monthly newsletter that we do for subscribers, and in the middle of it all, underneath it all, we've got the monthly magazine that we've got to put out as well. So it's a lot, and it's kind of controlled chaos to an extent. It's a lot of multitasking. I think one thing that makes it a lot easier with my team is it's just an incredibly passionate, driven bunch of people who are there is no risk of the quality going down, because everyone is aiming for the highest all the time. So I think the main thing is just teamwork and calling in support when we need it, so people don't burn out, and just kind of talking to each other a lot. Way too many Teams calls, just an unhealthy amount of time on Microsoft Teams.
If you wouldn't mind indulging me a personal question, I'm going to ask one which I've been wondering. Not that personal. No, it's coming from where I do with kids magazines. I'm thinking, if we don't make the effort to sort of engage and understand younger readers, our pipeline of subscribers, this is what the event is about, is going to run dry. So, my question to you is where are the next generation of subscribers coming from? What we're doing for the kids, man. Yeah, go on. Down the line.
Okay. So it's a good point, I guess, about particularly when you are kind of narrowing the funnel at the top. As I said, we've got a little bit of a buffer because a lot of our subscribers are domain and corporate, so we're obviously including the kind of more junior people there. But obviously people consume media in different ways. I have to say, because the focus has been so much on this kind of subscription strategy, and I feel really responsible for the quality of the content. If we're going to charge that much more for it, we need to make sure it's good, we need to make sure people are engaging with it. And so that's probably, if I'm honest, been my focus for the last 3 years. But we are aware that we do need to keep that funnel. So as I said, most of the content we have that's, say, free is, we're making free because we think it's, it's got a moral or kind of a social good, if that makes sense. But it's definitely something we need to think about, say, for the next 3 years, is what of our content can we actually spare? And I guess how to make that more, interactive. We do have a podcast as well. We don't currently video that. There are probably lots of ways we can be more, groovy than we are at the moment. But I think, my focus has just been on the, doing the core bits well and building those kind of data-led reports at the moment.
I don't have the answer to this question. Again, if I did, I'd probably be like CEO. But I think you need to meet people where they live. So, we do TikTok, and we have, we have a really big social following for Science and Technology magazine, and that stuff is really popular and it does really well. How you turn that into cold hard cash remains to be seen. But I think you need to hire younger people. We are a bit old in the team, I'd say, and that's not gonna fly for very long. So I'd say that's one thing, and yeah, just changing the way that you do things. So this question of, like, we were talking about filming audio. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense, but apparently, if you're making audio, you need to film it. And I was at a brand that shall not be named, who do a lot of audio, and they put it on YouTube, and they're like, we're getting like 6-figure, nearly 7-figure, advertising revenue from that. So there are ways to kind of monetize on those channels. You were saying about brands, kind of like, if they do it once, keep an eye on it. If they do it twice, so like The Economist, obviously charging for their podcast now, and then it's interesting, they've put like vertical video player on their website. So are they thinking about, they're clearly trying to get their consumers onto their platforms, and so I think it's an evolving thing. I don't know what the answer is, but you have to be where those people are. Like, you can't just keep doing your thing and expect it to all work out fine.
Yeah, I think the thing about focusing on audience is that actually, if you want to go to a younger audience or a audience that is behaving differently, you can't just go with the same product or the same brand that you've had for ages. It's got to pivot to fulfill that audience's needs. I think a lot of people who are subscribing to magazines are probably, we're not talking about like people, that younger generation being people in their 20s. We're probably talking about people being in their 30s and 40s and wanting to subscribe to things. I think making it easy is really important. I think there's a whole world, and I've secretly got this dream that print's going to do what vinyl's doing at the moment. Because actually, why not? It's lovely. I was away at the weekend, and on Sunday morning at breakfast, there was a whole range of Sunday newspapers, and I thought, I haven't done this for ages. So I'm planning to buy a Sunday newspaper on Sunday for the first time in like ages. Actually, it's about understanding what people need and trying to position what you're doing to suit them. And quite frankly, probably the platforms that these people are going to want to subscribe on haven't been invented yet anyway, so we won't know because we'll be too old to realise.
I try and keep up with the latest memes. Doesn't work out too well. I mean, one advantage of being this kind of multi-tentacled hydra is that different elements of it appeal to different kinds of people, and I think definitely for Empire, the podcast, the podcasts and the website kind of have a younger audience. That's kind of a way into the brand for different people. We're also on TikTok, but we have a brilliant social media editor called Sophie, who's really brilliant at just taking what we do and making it really accessible to younger people and appealing. So yeah,
young people on the team, very interesting.
Yeah, groovy.
Excellent. It's with great regret, isn't it? I mean, we've reached the top of the hour so very easily. So I think this is time to say thank you to you all for coming. Thank you to Bauer Media for hosting and the Lantern Building. Also, just a couple of dates for your diary. We've got the BSME Talent Awards on 4th of June at 100 Wardour Street, where we recognise the creative teams and rising talent. So please do grab a ticket. It's a great night out. And the main awards, which are in November. So get your entries in for those. It just remains for me to thank our fantastic panel, who have been brilliant. Released quite a few secrets there. Hopefully you're not going to get in trouble for any of them. No, it was really, really fascinating listening to everything you've said, and I only wish that I could have written more notes. So I'm going to have to get that audio when it comes.
Did you subscribe?
Subscribe, like and subscribe. That's what we do. All right, thank you very much. Let's give them a big round of applause.